Good morning. Welcome to Community Voice. I'm your host, Keith Parris. I want to thank everybody for joining us this morning. Good morning, Debo. Good morning, Carly. I know Michelle is leaving. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Don't look so excited because Michelle's leaving. You look like you're glad she's leaving.
I will not be provoked.
Really, when you start that?
It will not be
Is
provoked.
this something new you're trying?
I will not be provoked.
Oh, like your boy last night. Was he provoked?
I'm going to do a Leon Lottie Love. Satan, get behind me. There you go. Bypass the Reverend Dr. Leon Lottie Love.
Man, your phone line's lit up already. You know what they've been noticing this morning?
What's that?
We ain't heard from Meach, man.
Oh man, the Trump inflation plan. You played that this morning. You did it for him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Policy.
What is the Trump's immigration plan? What is that? Why don't you play that for us? Because I know he went into great detail on that. What is that? Oh, okay. All right.
Any other plans you want?
No, I think he. All right, let me do callers. I'm gonna get to you. I gotta obviously Wednesday's word was gonna be systemic. I got it on there, but obviously based on what happened last night, we have what is that? Breaking news.
It's breaking.
That's breaking news, and so I did watch, as I have a responsibility to watch the debate last night.
Do you do everything that you have a responsibility to do?
Most, some of the stuff I don't, but most.
That's good.
But I okay. I know everybody is, excited. Everybody is, oh my God. I think I heard a CNN pollster said that the scientific term they used for evaluating the debate was that she crushed him. And so that's but can I put it in perspective and let me play the devil's advocate? Let me try to be Mr. Balance here. And call I see and callers, please call in 414-444-5250. Is there any listener out there who expected a different outcome than what we experienced last night? We do have a line open. So if you're out there thinking that something different was going to happen than what actually happened last night, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Look, the only reason why Donald Trump did not get skewered in the first debate with Joe Biden was that Joe Biden was so bad in that debate. And I'm not disrespecting Vice President Kamala Harris, but basically it was do no harm, get him off his square, which he was very successful in doing. The most important line that he could have leveled or threw at her, he didn't until 86 minutes into the debate. And by that time, everything had been forgotten because you're looking at his performance. So again, I don't know if anybody was surprised. We knew this was going to, people watched and just knew, compare the different individuals. Kind of this outcome was not unexpected. Is that fair? Caller, welcome to the program.
Hello. Hey, Mr. Devo?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Devo, I think I just seen Meach. It was a dark-skinned man with an orange coat over. Asked me what time do Wise open?
What time do who open?
Wise.
Wise has been wise for a while, hasn't it?
He confused this morning.
It's changed hands a couple of times since it's been Wise's.
With an orange comb over.
What that dude?
Yeah, had a little red hat sticking out his back pocket.
Yeah. Okay.
That was his MAGA hat he had in his back pocket.
She
have a good day.
Hey, you too, man. Yeah, Wise's. It was Wise's when we lived on 46 in Chambers.
Oh, yo, Dave.
Yeah, back in the day, and so it was Wise's, and we gave a couple other things since Wise's, right?
Yeah, it has.
Yeah. Okay. Caller, welcome to the program.
Man, what's going on?
Hold on,
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
Uh-oh.
This is the Reverend Dr. Andrew Ward. I noticed a couple of things last night at the debate. The white guy who did ask most of the questions to Trump was white. And the woman who asked most of the questions to Kamala was black. And they allowed, if they didn't do it themselves, the fact check is black. And I heard somebody on Roland Martin say in the evaluation of the debate that he got moved waffled or something like that. I don't know if that's a common phrase, but it's quite applicable to the situation. I'm going to let y'all go.
All right.
And another thing, Trump didn't have his people who always clarify his bull after he said it, and he can't clarify anything he said. He can't verify. He always was in generalities. Again, y'all have a good one.
All right, appreciate you. 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. Love to hear what you think in terms of the day after the debate. Were there any surprises in your mind in terms of looking at it? Again, Debo's getting on me about my responsibility. And so one of the things that caught me by surprise, because I did eat a pretty good burger, so I was kind of dope. You get the itis. But I don't know if anybody noticed that Trump went to the spin room. I don't know if anybody saw. Kamala Harris went to, it looked like they had a little rally set up for her. She'd go with her supporters, and that's where she went. But Trump was in the spin room. Now, normally in the spin room, it's the people who are out trying to clarify the message of the particular candidate, and whether it is a speech at the convention, whether it is after a debate. The fact that Trump went to the spin room, I think his folks had kind of told him that, dude, you didn't do well. And so he was down trying to.
You got it handed to you out there, man.
Oh man, I think the best description was the person who called in and said that she ran a Boston on him. I don't even play cards, but I know what that is. But no, I mean, I think the fact that now it's the spin became, it was 3 against 1. That was the spin. I was listening to, he called in to Fox and Friends this morning, he being Donald Trump, and he was going on about how many times they fact checked him. Okay. CNN did, as they do at all of these debates, they did a fact check. Trump told 33 lies. Kamala Harris told 1. Trump told 33 lies. Kamala Harris told 1. Talk time. Donald Trump had 5 minutes more talk time than Kamala Harris. He had 5 minutes more actual talk time than she did. I'm trying to figure out then, how was it rigged, where he would go in, and the fact that he was complaining that they were fact checking him, the fact that we have to, and I hope I don't use the word fact that many times, the fact that we have to fact check you means that, one, you might have a reputation for doing falsehoods. And I think I'm being kind in that description. So, no, I think it was really kind of fascinating. And then I think a line maybe kind of most people missed. And I don't know if it's going to be part of a campaign ad, but I certainly caught the line. Vice President Harris said that, well, what was the number? She said 61 million people fired you. 81 million. I didn't know the exact. Thank you. 81 million people fired you. I thought, oh man, good line. Really good line. Because he was talking about he got more votes than any other president. You did, but then you lost by 7 million votes. You lost the 2016 election in terms of the popular vote by 3 million votes. So It wasn't. Again, I wasn't surprised. I think it. But here's the deal, and this is where I think we have to be a little sober minded here. The enthusiasm you need in terms of driving people out to do the campaign work that you need on the ground to get people to show up at the polls. Based on how the electorate is so evenly divided, you find that Kamala Harris is usually between 46, 48. Sometimes certain polls she hits 50%. Donald Trump has never broke 46%. Now, if I'm sitting here doing an analysis at 35,000 feet in terms of how this election might be decided, I think it was something when Vice President Harris talked about his rallies, right? And she was saying that, and it's true because even Fox would cut away from it. They got to the point they're not exciting, they're boring. People are getting up and leaving. There's a lot of people enthusiastic about getting into his rallies, but they are not full. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, she's packing the house. Wherever she goes, she's packing them in. And so for her to immediately go there, it sent him into a spiral that he never really recovered from, because she went at the thing that he's most vulnerable, his ego. I mean, I think in terms of psychological warfare, which it is, and I think I use the term sometimes verbal jujitsu. I can never pronounce that word, but where in effect I think the way judo works is that you let the opponent's weight work against them. So what you do is just let him keep talking, because the more he talks, the more he gets in trouble, because there's not much there. There's no substance there. And so then when you have to even get into a substantive question, he can't answer the question. Now, let me do this observation about Vice President Harris. There were a couple of questions that she did not answer. From a campaign perspective, really good move, because what she did not do was give the Trump campaign any sound bites that they could use later. She was smart on that. And then the issue around fracking, and just so people know, fracking is this way where you put pressure into the rocks and you basically explode the rocks in order to get the natural gas. They're talking about fracking in Pennsylvania, but they should talk about the impact that fracking has had in the state of Oklahoma. State of Oklahoma now is dealing with earthquakes that normally they wouldn't deal with. A lot of it is because the fracking has destabilized that little shelf that's right up under the ground there, which makes it more vulnerable for earthquakes. Now, that's a little thing. Here's the other thing. Her position was no expanded fracking on federal land. That's significant. So I don't know how much federal land in Pennsylvania would be impacted by the no fracking rule in terms of public lands, but that's it. And that's the balance that we have to have, because you hear people talk about, well, we want energy independence, but we also do that, and we do it at peril to the planet. And though people right now saying, well, ain't nothing really happening now, it is happening now. We have had the hottest temperature ever recorded happened this year. That's because of climate change. That's because of all the things that we're doing to the planet that's destabilizing the atmosphere of the planet, right? And so when people say, well, it don't really matter, it does matter. The fact that you're dealing with 100-year weather events every 2 years means that there's a destabilization, in terms of the planet. And so I thought it was interesting, but she's a lawyer. And it was apparent that she was a lawyer, because, you can kind of switch and do some things in terms of the answers to the question. So I think in that way she did pretty well. Carla, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Hey, Keith, what's happening?
Hey, what's happening, man?
I wanted to talk to Debo before you put me on the air.
Oh, okay.
Debo, instead of playing cricket, you got the chicken cloth.
Yeah.
Play that for me.
Okay.
I don't know if the brother blocking me now because we get into it so much. But I called him this morning. I texted him, like, people waiting to hear from you this morning, brother. Where you at? So he ain't text me back. We might want to do a wellness check on that brother. Ain't no telling what happened to him last night after he watched that debate.
I don't think so. Many Republicans are surprised. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I think they know who the candidate is.
Ain't nobody surprised, Keith.
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. This is the game you're supposed to win. You know, just like I would say for him beating up on Joe Biden in June was the game that he was supposed to win. He's up against a different candidate now.
You and me still got different opinions of that.
What do you mean?
Yeah, he looked at frail, but to me, he still beat him.
No, he didn't, man.
Because he took
George.
The dude told 39 lies. He did six less yesterday. He never answered a question last time.
Right.
Just like last night, I was waiting for Kamala to say, "Bro, do you know how to answer a question?" He always deviates, Chief. That's why I'm saying that. Yeah, Joe Biden
politics
looked bad and he stumbled.
Yeah,
he didn't lie.
He didn't.
And when he did get a chance to talk, he told the truth.
But his visual was such that it overwhelmed. His visual was such. Biden's visual was such that I was still going like, I know this dude is lying, but Biden looks like he's in bad shape.
That's where they got y'all hoodwinked.
Y'all
got to go a little bit deeper.
Y'all, who's y'all?
Stuck on that.
Who's y'all?
You, because you just said that you stuck on the visual. But what about the substance?
No, I know. When I say that I'm stuck on the visual, if I am this person who's supposed to be dispassionate, right? That's how it's supposed to work in theory. Don't always work that way. If I'm sitting here looking at this, I'm thinking now, what is the average American thinking when he or she is looking at that image? Because image goes a long way in politics. To act as if image doesn't, it does.
Can I say this, Keith?
Sure.
And this is where I think most of us, I don't know if you ever watched Jimmy Kimmel, and I forgot who else used. I think Jay Leno used to do it. How we are. I know ignorant might be the wrong word, but that's the only word that comes to my mind right now. They got this thing where they talk to people walking down the street. They make up an absolute lie, and then they ask the people about it. Oh, did you watch this? And people will lie, straight up lie, instead of saying, "Well, I don't know, I didn't watch." And to me, what do y'all call them?
Low information voters.
And that's what we're dealing with, Keith. A bunch of low information voters out here who don't do their research. Even last night when she laid out her plan, Keith, I don't know what you watched. I don't know if you watched CNN or NBCSN, or I don't know where you watched yesterday, but I watched ABC, but then for the commentary, I flipped over to MSNBC. And they had these 6 or 7 people in the room. One lady said she still wasn't going to vote. One lady that was a teacher, Keith, said she still needed more information. Then the 2 young men, I think one was Hispanic, one was white, said they're still going to vote for Trump. After all that they've seen, we got so much information right at our hands. So when you say, I need to know more, what are you doing with your time? What are you doing? You got Google and all this other stuff that you can go and research. What is wrong with people? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, you use this term, George, and I don't know if it's appropriate. When you say what is wrong with people, they see the world differently than you. And those are just as...
What's wrong with them?
Well, hold on, wait a minute. Just as strongly as you feel in your position, they feel as strongly in their position. So when people say what's wrong, they're probably asking the question, why are you supporting her? I mean,
I'm gonna ask you a question because you one of them down the middle road guys. Like you said, I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Tell me what you saw last night, because I will bet everything that I'm saying, and then down the road you'll repeat what I'm saying.
I'm not. No. What I had probably the same experience you had in terms of watching what I was watching.
What I'm saying,
but what I'm saying is that you and I might have had that experience, but 46% of the voting population does not have that same experience.
What's wrong with them? That's all I'm asking.
Well, I don't know if there's anything wrong.
It is something wrong with them.
Why? Because they disagree with you, or they disagree with me?
This clown on the stage.
Okay.
Now, talking about Biden, how he looks. Everybody talks about Biden, how he looks.
Okay.
What about all these rallies this dude is having, talking about sharks and electrocution and
So let me ask you a
Hannibal
question.
Lecter, windmills?
What was your
How
response?
Joe Biden looks. How does he look?
And that's the
where
question
is
I'm going to
Parris?
ask you now. So compared to her, how did he look?
Like he always looked like a damn fool.
Okay. All right.
And anybody that don't see that, that's why I'm waiting for this brother to come on. He always got something to say. Come on, man. Where you at this morning? We want to hear more ignorance come out. You can't defend this cat anymore. Thank you, Chief. I get excited about this because I can't stand this dude. And if this dude get in office again, people want to, this ain't a game, Chief. I'm passionate about this.
Okay.
And I hope everybody else is. We cannot let this cat get back in office. You know how you evolve? He's evolving, and he's getting people around him. This country gonna be in trouble. I want to know what he said, what him and Putin was talking about in that back room. That was unprofessional, whatever you want to call it, that they let him get in a room by himself with Putin, and nobody knows what they discussed.
All right. I think she had a great line with him in her relationship. She said that Putin would, what she said, she would eat his lunch. He would call it. Welcome to the program. 414-444-5250. 414-444-5250. You know, let me, again, I wish that everybody in the world would agree with me so they could be right. But unfortunately they don't. And again, as I was beginning to talk about the fact that you're looking at the numbers, there's not a lot of room. There's not a lot of so-called undecided voters. And so people have pretty much made up their minds where they are, who they're going to support. And that's obvious. I think the great danger, though, is for us not to let this echo chambers, the majority of people who will call this station probably has a particular, I won't say political persuasion, but political persuasion that they might have. But we're not the world, you know, and as expansive as I like to believe the reach is of WNOV, I realize that there are other people out there in the world who feel very strongly about their positions, and they're not going to move. So what the Dems have to do, in my estimation, is that they have to make sure that they get their base solidly behind him, like Trump's base is solidly behind him. And then what you will hope for, with all the work that you do on the ground, because turnout is going to be real important. So all these people say they can't stand this dude, you know, and there's a whole lot of folks out there, but then there's some folks you ask them, are you going to vote? Oh, I ain't going to vote. Well, okay. So, and I said this before, that the way it works, and I think Michelle alluded to this too, or maybe someone else did on her program, where they talk about the higher the voter turnout, the better Dems do. Higher voter turnout favors Democrats. This is why Republicans have put voter suppression laws on the books, because, or what right now we haven't talked about it. They're going in purging voter rolls, right? They're going in purging voter rolls. So who do you think they're trying to purge? Where in the voter rolls do you think they're trying to, or where their focus is? Probably where black and brown people are. And so the voter suppression piece, and that's the argument I used to make to people. Well, if your vote don't matter, how come they're trying to prevent you from voting? If your vote doesn't matter, why is there so many attempts to keep you from voting? Because your vote does matter. And I know, and again, the conversation I think the first conversation I had with Vice President Harris, we talked about that. You know, you got macroeconomics, all those things people see, the stock market, all these things, the consumer price index, you know, those things. And I just see right now that just based on the inflation has slowed. It's down now to 2.3%. So there has been a dramatic drop in terms of inflation. I don't know if the prices are coming down to correspond with the drop in inflation. Now, why is that important? Because what's really the response to the inflation was for the Fed to go in and to increase the interest rate. Remember, we talked about this. That's the tough part. People talk about, oh, the price of gas is too high. The price of food is too high. There are factors that go into that. Yes, gouging is a part of it, but there's also demand, right? There's also things like the supply chain. There's all these things that conspire. So let's say now that I have a product that's hard to get. Well, that means that you're able to raise the price because the value of the product just went up just because it's so hard to get. So inflation is dropping. It looks like the Feds are going to drop the interest rate, which is going to be good news for a whole lot of folks. So in spite of what we're seeing in terms of prices, here's the other thing. Gas is coming down. And I don't know if people noticed it at the pumps, but gas is coming down. So all these things where, and then found out that they've pumped more gas, more oil under Biden than they have under Trump. So I think when we're having those discussions, a lot of times the numbers matter. I know how on the macro level, on the micro level, people going like, damn, man, I just went in and tried to buy some hamburger. It was $7 a pound. Now, those are real pocketbook issues that people are seeing. And so though you have on a macro level where you see the cooling of inflation, how quickly does that get down to the consumer, where the consumer begins to see, oh, the prices have come down, the prices have stabilized. I don't know if we're quite at that point yet. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm okay. This is Elise Keith. Yesterday, I was on 3rd North, and I didn't realize they were going to be with the cameras. And I was asking them, they was like kind of towards the Republican office and the Caribbean Connect. I'm waiting on the bus. And so I'm looking at Miss Wolf on the bus stop, and, Tracy didn't have his little event for the school. It was a porta potty. And I'm just every day, and the bus drivers don't even see this woman. But anyway, so I decided to get me a taco for $2.25, and so I'm nosy, and I'm like, okay, what are you doing? Because I know there ain't no surveying going on for measurements of the street. I know that much. And then also I wanted to know, what do they call us? Low level what? And they were trying to get in on the news. I would have been breaking news for Fox 6 yesterday, but what was that term that guy just used?
Low information voters. Low information
voters.
voters.
Correctly. I don't hear well.
Low information voters.
Okay, so that's what I am. Yesterday, had I let them put me on Fox 6, you got some great points. What do you think about this and that? Can I put you on and you be on the news? I said, no, you can record my voice. What are you expecting from the debate? If I could get home, I will watch it if I could get it on the television. But my main thing is do not move the radio because I cannot get WNOV. So I done found the largest size. I can hear it clear, because it's been for years with the old clock radio. And I'm still thinking about Keon. I ain't thinking about all the nasty around our neighborhood. What do you expect of them at the debate? I forgot all about, Trump and Kamala. Fuck that. Make a left turn off of Garfield.
Okay, all righty. So here's the second question as we talk about what's your impressions. Do you think that the debate had any impact in terms of where we're seeing ourselves in the race coming up? I'm just, first of all, you always operate from do no harm, right? Don't hurt yourself. And George is right. I mean, what we saw is what we pretty much expected. And I think that there are people out there who feel like they can just get by on their guile and their intellect. And in the real world, man, you got to prepare. And obviously, Donald Trump wasn't prepared for last night. Hey, the phone line's open, 414-444-5250, 414-444-5250. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Business Improvement District.
Five two five zero. We're talking about the day after, the night before. We're talking about the debate. But again, I think that there's not a lot of wiggle room there. They said that this is a margin election. We will see going forward. Here's the other question. My understanding is that the Harris campaign has said that they're open to a second debate. The question is, will Donald Trump show up for that debate if there is going to be a second debate. The question is then who will host that debate. I don't know if that's going to be, it would be Fox. And then the situation that, oh man, you're talking about going in the lion's den. But from everything we're able to glean from last night, I don't think the environment will really matter much. It's pretty much going to be I think it's going to be the same. So I think now the calculation is, now this is me. I'm not part of the Harris-Walz campaign, so I can't tell you this. I don't have any inside information. I'm just speculating as one looking on the outside. I think that by them saying, even though they've won the debate, that they would love to have a second debate, will put Donald Trump in a situation where, again, I told you, he is most vulnerable with his ego. And in effect, she will, if he says he doesn't know, because I don't know in Fox and Friends this morning, he was kind of vacillating about whether or not he was going to do a second debate. So I don't know. I think they're going to have to look at what would be the benefits for him as a candidate, because guess what? The same dude that showed up in June is going to be the same dude that showed up last night, September, and then so it'll be the same guy in October who would show up. It is very difficult especially as we get older, for us to change and to adapt. And I think that's becoming apparent. Donald Trump doesn't, again, have any substance. And so when you really have to have a substantive conversation about policy, that's not going to happen. And it didn't happen. So we'll see if he accepts the invitation. Caller, welcome to the program.
Yes, my name is Emmett Harris.
Yes, sir.
And I'm keep hearing Trump talking about what a great economy he had. If you know your history, that the first year of an incoming president is the last year of an outgoing president. So what he bragging about is what Obama did. Mm-hmm. And so that's Obama and Biden had that first. His second year is doing the incoming president. What you doing is the second year, not the first year. Mm-hmm. The first year is the outgoing president.
Right.
Obama had all that great economy going after he picked up what Bush had put down. But Trump keeps talking about, we had a great economy. We had a great economy. You didn't have nothing. Your year started the second year in office, and you know what happened there. He was taking down everything that Obama had put up, talking about it was a hoax, a Democrat hoax. All million and million of people dying, and he started playing it off as it was a hoax.
Yeah, so I think you're right. I think it's obvious, and I said this all the time. And when I talk to prominent Dems, I will always that's not always, but I will point it out from time to time. It's usually the Democrats who will have to straighten out economies after Republicans have basically wrecked them, primarily with tax cuts. We saw that with Bush, right? Bush inherited a great economy from Bill Clinton. And then what was the first thing they went in and did? They did tax cuts. And so, it is not like, and again, Trump is talking about tax cuts. And I think that, and I'll have to pull it up and because I don't have it in front of me right now, talking about what they want to do in terms of the tax rates, part of the 2025 project. Part of their thing is to cut, I think, capital gains, which is now at 28%. They want to reduce that. But at the same time, and part of that tax bill that Trump and the Republicans controlled Senate and House passed was one where, now I don't know if you itemize, but people who itemize, that's pretty much gone. You have to be rich. So now they give you what, $22,000, whatever it is, $24,000. Those are your deductions. But if you have more deductions than that, I don't think you can no longer deduct state income tax or taxes. So that tax bill hurt a whole lot of poor folks. That's the other thing, though, brother, I did not hear, and I'm not hearing in the campaign. I thought it was very interesting that Kamala Harris talks about her middle-class background, her middle-class upbringing, and that's accurate. I mean, her family were academics, And so, yeah, that's solidly middle class. But for the people who are really marginalized, the question is, what are you going to do for me? Right?
Yeah.
You're taking care of the middle class, you're taking care of the rich, but what about those folks who are every day trying to make $1 out of 15 cents? What are you doing for
less
them?
than middle class. Yeah, I know what you're saying. Scrambling, people that scrambling, trying to
Right.
make it one day after another one, But it just burned me up when Trump be talking about, I had a great economy. You didn't have shit.
Can't say that on radio, man.
Oh, you didn't have nothing.
The F-bomb and the S-bomb this morning. Ooh.
I'm sorry about that, but it burned me up when he's saying that. And his year started the second year he in office, and then he wasn't doing nothing then, but
and his response to COVID.
And COVID.
Right, and here's the other thing, and this was an issue. He talks about, they had asked him a question at an event over the weekend about child care. That child care tax credit is really popular. It really is popular.
Right.
And let's shout out to Congresswoman Gwen Moore, because I know that is her baby. But he said, we'll do tariffs. Now, here's the piece that's real interesting for people like, I think the governor from, what's his name, Matson, one of the guys he was considering as a vice presidential pick, comes from a state that depends on soybean. When Trump announced the tariffs, the first thing the Chinese did was put a tariff on soybean. So then that hurt farmers. This is something people probably forgot. So what Trump had to do, all those farmers who got hurt by his tariff, they ended up having to do government assistance to them because they lost money because of his tariffs. People who will sit up and tell you about global economics and a free and open market will tell you tariffs is a killer. It's a killer.
And that's the only thing. That's all he talk about, tariffs. I'm gonna tariff this. I'm gonna tariff that, and it don't hurt nobody but us.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm talking about his supporters. That's the other piece of it. A lot of his policies has a negative impact on the very people who will vote for him. So that gets us back to the famous book, What's Wrong with Kansas, right? And so where you will have people who will vote on these emotional issues, they'll vote on social issues, and they get with a certain candidate or a certain party because they're doing this, the feel-good part of what I like. You appeal to my racism, you appeal to my misogynism, you appeal to my homophobia, you appeal to all my fears and my worst instincts, and at the same time, they're robbing them blind.
Right.
So I think people need to be a little bit mindful when you begin to say it don't impact on me. It does impact on all of us.
Right, you got that right.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. And I know your feelings. People just get mad when they see the dude. I mean, I appreciate that. But as I could paraphrase President Obama, when he told people don't vote, don't get mad, show up and vote. I mean, because
that's the only thing that irritates me when he talking about his great economy he had. He came into that great economy. Obama had that economy. His year was the second year.
Right.
And let him brag about that second year. So that's what he came in at. But that's all I had to say, my brother.
I appreciate you, bro. And I didn't get a chance. I know Michelle mentioned that today is I didn't realize it's been 23 years since 9/11. I can remember what I was doing. Oh, man. I was down in the basement pressing a shirt for work. And my wife yelled downstairs. She said, I think a plane has flown into the World Trade Center. I was like, oh, wow. Now, if anybody's ever, I tell a story, anybody's ever flown New York, especially if you fly into Kennedy, you know that you fly out and then you fly in. So you're flying over water, you kind of fly around because that's lower Manhattan, where the World Trade Center was. And so you would see the towers. You just kind of, so you figure, oh man, the plane got off course, hit the building. Wow. And then I hear my wife, when something really happens, that she goes, ooh, well, what happened? She said a second plane flew into the building. And I was like, wow, okay, this ain't an accident. And what an incredible day. I was listening to one of the folks who was a reporter, and he did describe something that made that day even more eerie. It was a beautiful day. It wasn't a cloud in the sky anywhere in the country. It was a beautiful day. And of all the things that you would expect to happen when you got up on September 11, 2001, planes flying into buildings, probably one in the 1,000 top things that you would have had in terms of you thought or imagined could have happened on that day. It's one of those days where, for the majority of population, people felt a oneness in terms of being an American, right? Now we understand the factors later on that went into that. Most people don't want to hear that, that there were things that had happened that got bin Laden to the point that he would even want to do this. That's a different piece. But I'm telling you, on that day, in that moment, I know what I felt. And let me shout out Deslin. Deslin Smith surprised me because Deslin went and got all these American flags. I'll never forget this. We were out on 76 in Acacia, and she got all these American flags, and we had these, because for that moment, you felt like an American. And someone had called and said, how do we get together? Like we'll get on one accord. Certain things happen. Well, certain things will happen, like George Floyd. Certain things will happen in history where you will see for a moment, all those differences kind of go away because we think of ourselves as Americans. Now, I'm not going to sit up here and say because I think of myself as an American that I have enjoyed the benefits, all the benefits of being American. It gets back to our word today, systemic. I am still being victimized by systemic racism. When I thought about that word and the fact that it didn't come up, when people talk about the critical race theory, what critical race theory talks about is the systemic racism, particularly in the justice system, right? And how justice is administered. And justice is administered, it seems, based on how one looks, all right? I know people have been doing a comparison between Tariq Hill and Scheffler, the golfer. So I don't know. They said that they were treated differently because of how they look. Again, I would have to go back and see the Scotty Scheffler and what that looked like in terms of that arrest. But yeah, that's the world that we live in. And so if people say voting doesn't matter, it does matter because there are still systemic things that impact on us as descendants of enslaved Africans. And so for us to, I just think you got to be part of the political system. I know there's a whole lot of folks out there. And look, people are in it for what's in it for me. I think that term we hear, self-interest. What is my self-interest? When I'm looking at voting for a candidate, I'm voting for that candidate because I believe that candidate are going to support, are going to advocate, are going to push for things that are important to me. It was interesting to hear Senator LaTanya Johnson talk about her frustration as a Black elected because you're up fighting in Madison. I know that was the frustration that Lena had. You're fighting, and then you come back, and the people looking at you like, so what up? And then some of those very same people will turn around and say, politicians don't do nothing. They only come around when they want our votes. For some folks, that's the case, but there are many electeds out there every day advocating, pushing, trying to do things to make the community better. And the people in the community, for some of them, they're indifferent at best. I always give the example, the school board elections, the people most impacted by what happens in Milwaukee public schools are people who are probably least likely to show up and vote. Now, people give me all the reasons, that goes into causal factors that go into it. But what I'm saying is that here you are. This is something that directly impacts the education of your child. And you may or may not go vote. And look, Tip O'Neill famously said that politics is local. right? It starts, you have more impact on a local level than you do on a national level. There's the group ALEC, who come together and pretty much some of the same people, some of the same players that you see as part of Project 2025 to talk about this legislative strategy. And they say, you know what? We're going to start with school boards. We're going to start with city councils. We're going to start with county boards. And if we can take over and have that type of impact on a local level, then we're going to have real impact. So when people say it's not important to vote, I strongly disagree. Caller, welcome to the program. Good morning.
Comment.
I can't hear you.
Comment.
Yeah. What's your comment?
Oh, I wanted to talk about the thing that, from last night, the debate. And
All right.
things like that.
Go ahead, bro. Hello? Hello? Okay. All right, call back, man, because you're not coming through. So again, and let's get back to 9/11. Because though people said we ended up being in Afghanistan for over 20 years, it was the justification of the bogus invasion of Iraq. But it gave us something else that we're still dealing with the residual effects of. It gave us the Patriot Act. And what that did was allow a certain level of spying and surveillance, sometimes on American citizens. So here we are. We have a situation where now, again, your civil liberties have been impacted by that. And so when people went in and took advantage of the situation, there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. And maybe Donald Trump, they said broken clock is right twice a day. And maybe Donald Trump was right that they went in for the oil. Maybe he was right on that. Because who was the biggest beneficiaries of us going into Iraq? Halliburton. And who had a relationship with Halliburton? Dick Cheney or Ruth and Brown too. These folks go in, they make all kind of money. As a matter of fact, they pointed out at one point, I think in Afghanistan, you had more non-military government-sanctioned people there than you had military because of the money that people were making. And it was interesting because in Afghanistan, it got to the point where their economy began to change because of the infusion of monies that was put into Afghanistan. So when America withdrew, it changed their whole economic system. Now you got the Taliban back trying to run things, and you know what that turned into. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I just want to. I'm fine. How about yourself?
I'm well.
Wonderful. I just want to respond about the debate last night. Is that good?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm really undecided voter, and watching the debate last night, I am convinced that I am going to vote for Kamala Harris. The reason on that is that she held her own. She reminded him that he's not debating Biden; he's debating her. And she, although he tried to use the tactics that he used on Biden and he used on the other lady that's trying to run for president, Clinton,
mm-hmm.
She held her own with him. She did not back down. She spoke her truth. She stayed on track of what she was saying, and she convinced me that she could be a good leader.
Well, thank you for that, and thank you for that openness in terms of, being able to say, hey, and for some people it did seal the deal one way or the other. I think there was one moment in the debate where she kind of looked over at him and she was making a statement, and she was going to, what I was kind of thinking was this, and she caught herself.
That's what I was thinking.
She caught herself.
You know what?
So at one moment, I said, "Oh no, the sister's gonna come out."
Yeah, I know you good. And then she backed
Yeah.
up and she called
Yeah, okay.
herself.
She's like, "I'm not gonna act ugly because he's acting ugly." All he did was call her name, and she just let that do over. Like,
But he
oh,
did not do that.
yes, he did.
No, what name did he call her?
He was calling names so more.
He never. I didn't hear comrade. I didn't hear comrade Kamala. I didn't hear any of the little nicknames that he would have for anything because he was so thrown off his square. He really didn't. Because I think in his reprobated mind, I hate to use that term, but it seems to be a pretty good descriptive. His ego told him, I don't even have to prepare for her. She is not Joe Biden. She is
That's
not
right.
Joe
And
Biden.
he just knew that he was going to just tear her apart.
Oh yeah.
And she just, you know what? She whooped him in a nice way. And she gave him a spanking. You don't know how a child just, when they throw temper tantrums,
Mm-hmm.
that's all he was doing. He never really answered the question. But you know what kind of disturbed me last night? Watching the debate, it's just like the two people that are asking questions, letting him ramble on and cut her off.
Yeah, but I think that and that's what her campaign wanted. Again, he was fact checked 6 times. According to CNN, he told 33 lies. She had 1. And so, no, I mean, just let him talk. I mean, they did fact check him, and he was complaining on Fox and Friends this morning about how he was the only one being fact checked because he was the only one lying.
I commend her and was like, go ahead on, sister, do your thing. Just don't act ugly.
Well,
We're getting ready to.
Yeah, and you know, it was interesting. You said they gave him a spanking. I thought about the weapon of choice back in the day for old gangsters was the razor. And you get sliced with a razor, and before you know it, you bleeding all over the place. And she just used a razor on him yesterday. It wasn't even, he was in a very bad knife fight. And my mother used to say, everybody had an axe but you. You know, I mean, and again, I appreciate the brother who called in and said she ran a Boston. I think that just, you know, for black people, we know what that is like. Yep. I don't know what it is in Sheep's Head.
I'm glad she stood her ground.
Oh.
Made her point through. So she convinced me a whole lot. So now I know who I'm going to have to vote for.
Well, appreciate that. Thank you.
You have a blessed morning.
You too, dear. All right, you're listening to Community Voice. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back.
when it got down to that part, Keith, this is what we heard. Cricket. I stepped out for a moment. Did he call?
Nah.
I haven't heard from him. Huh?
No, I haven't heard from him. And let me do this real quick, and I'm gonna get to my guests. So, the interesting thing was the day after the debate in June, we had already scheduled Westmore. And I don't know if people remember, but also that night on CNN, Vice President Harris had to go on right after the debate. And let me say this for the Dems, they stepped up. And so when I had a chance to talk to Westmore, he said, yeah, it wasn't a good performance. Mm-hmm. So those people were kind of in denial about President Biden's performance. It was an awful performance. Call it what it was. It happens, right? Obama talks about his. We remember Reagan with his. So it happened. Now, what we did not know was that then it would change the whole course of the election, where he would decide to step away, and then Kamala Harris would go to the top of the ticket.
You're being very nice when you say decide.
Well, ultimately the decision was on him.
It was, but there was a lot of coercion.
Yeah, and then to hear Republicans come out talking about the 14 million disenfranchised voters, that's really a stretch for me. Let's talk about the other millions of voters that you purposely tried to disenfranchise, right? We're talking about when it really matters. So that little thing, but okay. All right. So we got the politics out the way. Good morning, y'all. Mr. Willie Smith.
Yes.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Good to see you again. Dr. Deborah Allen, good morning. First time meeting you.
Yes, good morning.
So let's do this. We always like to find out a little bit about, let me see if I can remember this. This is the Northwest Side Community Development Corporation?
Correct.
CDC.
There you go.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it.
Wow, I can't even spell my own name, but I got that one out. So tell us a little bit about you, Brother Smith, and then Dr. Allen.
Sure. I'm Willie Smith, the Executive Director of the Northwest Side Community Development Corporation. Been there for about 10 years, almost 11. We focus a lot on community and economic development, supporting small businesses, working on real estate development projects and a number of random things in community and economic development. And we're here today to discuss an initiative that we're carrying out to support small businesses in Milwaukee.
Dr. Allen?
All right, good morning. And I am what you call that twice retiree now. I spent 20 years in the corporate environment at a utility company here in Wisconsin. Left there and became a McDonald's franchise owner. I spent 20 years as a franchisee here in Milwaukee. Left that, and now I am.
The one over on Walnut?
Yes, I did.
And how many others?
10 in total. But now I actually am president of Golden Path Home Care. It's a personal care agency. I actually work for my mentee. And I am doing that because I do coach and help out entrepreneurs. And she was one that I've been coaching and working with for the last 13 years. And now I've taken over her organization and she's gone on to other stuff. But my main thing is really just trying to inspire and compel entrepreneurs to live out their best life and get it right and make some money.
How important, I hear this term a whole lot in terms of being an entrepreneur. What is the impact that has on our communities in terms of having or expanding the number of entrepreneurs that we have?
Man, the economic impact is jobs and really just buying power, our own buying power in the Black community. And I just feel like the more and more we can train and get our entrepreneurs to make money. I mean, we've been starting businesses left and right. But can those businesses stay in business, right? And can we make money and improve our economic base and our economic impact within the city? And so that's what I'm here to kind of help with people do.
Does the expansion of the number of entrepreneurs we have, does that impact the, we talk about how long a dollar circulates in the Black community, about 6-8 hours.
Did you say 6-8 hours?
Yes, but I mean, it's less than, and there's a lot of economic factors that go into it. The primary thing is what's the number of homeowners you
Right,
have,
yeah,
right? I mean,
yeah.
that's the most immediate wealth. That's dollars staying in that
Yes.
community. And so a lot of people in certain communities are renters.
Mhm.
So that money is going to whomever the property owner is. And in many instances, they don't even live in the state, right? So how important is that then? You talk about jobs where that money now is circulating in our community.
Sure. I would say that that absolutely. I mean, small businesses and entrepreneurs have an amazing impact on the community. The one thing that we try to do is not only do we fund small businesses, but we offer business technical assistance. That's honestly how, Debbie and I started working together. She acts as a consultant for some of our small businesses. It's one thing to start a business. It's another thing to keep that business sustainable and thriving over time. So, which is why we place a lot of emphasis on post-funding TA. And what that means is you can get, a number of folks can help you with a business plan or help you to get the business started. But, at the end of the day, you want the business to continue, you want to make money in the business. So we provide that post-funding technical assistance to ensure that people not only have the funding that they need to operate, but also the technical assistance and whatever, to fill whatever voids they might have in operating their businesses. So that is a very important aspect of any business, the ability to sustain and having the resources and support that they need to survive, which oftentimes, minority businesses just don't have. They don't often have that network. So we offer, direct business TA and our network to ensure that the businesses are successful.
Do you think it's also a part of this is the type of businesses that we're choosing to go into in terms of, so there is no shortage of hair care businesses owned and operated by descendants of enslaved Africans.
Yeah, that's true.
And so then we're moving in that, but then there might be other areas where one, it provides a service to the community, a benefit to the community, but also people can make money.
Right.
Should we be looking at it a little bit differently? I know people go, I can do hair, or
Right.
I can cook. Yeah, but just because you can cook doesn't mean you can run a restaurant.
Right.
That's a good point. A lot of people can do hair, but what's your niche?
Right.
And what separates you from others? What makes me want to come to your place versus going to anybody else? So if you can kind of segment yourself out and say, here's the thing that I do that's special and unique that nobody else is doing. That's one thing. The other thing though about businesses is a lot of times we've cooked in our homes, we baked in our homes, and now we feel like, this hobby can now become a business. But all hobbies aren't meant to become business. Some hobbies just need to stay hobbies.
Right.
Because now, do you know all the nuances that it's going to take to make this a thriving business, to run it financially, to, get a building or all of that. And I think people don't think through those dynamics when they say, I want to go out and start a business.
Exactly.
And I think I'm gonna name drop here for a moment. But R.C. Smith, the people like Water Street Brewery, all the people, he was my coach in high school. And he decided that he wanted to open up the original RCs over on North Avenue, which used to be a cleaners. Part of what he was able to do was get a $20,000 loan from his dad. Now, this is back in 74. So here's the thing that we have with capitalization, right? Being able to capitalize and have the capital to do what you do. And then that kind of gets in this whole thing, in this case, generational wealth transfer, because he could go to his dad. His dad had a certain level of wealth where he could then invest. For a lot of Black businesses, they're usually undercapitalized.
Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Very true.
Definitely.
And so how do you so is it a question of your scaling? Is it a question of,
I would say one of the biggest issues is a lack of sufficient planning is a really big one. I mean, there are a lot of business owners, they have this idea, or entrepreneurs, they have this idea, I want to do X, Y, Z, as you stated. They might cook well, or they might do hair well, but oftentimes they're not thinking about the whole picture. They're not thinking about all the expenses associated with it. They're just thinking, hey, I can do this great. I'm sure I'm going to bring a lot of customers in, and regardless, it's going to be enough money to keep me afloat. And that's not always the case, you know, and oftentimes there's not a marketing strategy either.
Right. And then you have things outside of your control. Oh, I just got the building. Exactly. I'm ready to move in. Yep. Oh, they're going to do street construction.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
There you go. I mean, because there's other things outside of your control, or you get a pandemic. Absolutely. You know, how do you then pivot? So when having those conversations about that and scale and being able to go in, but the planning, and I wanted to get to your experience as a McDonald's franchisee. The one thing anybody who studies these things, and I kind of do, is that when you look at McDonald's, there's a C word there: consistency.
Yes,
that product is consistent. Mm-hmm. Right? Definitely. That's the other thing that keeps people coming, because they know it's going to be the same. It is what it is. You get a Big Mac in Germantown, it's the same Big Mac you get on 9th and North. That's it. Right? That's it. And so and that's the whole thing about people coming in. A lot of times we're talking about capitalization. Mm-hmm. You know, you come into a certain business and they selling chicken. Oh, we ain't got chicken today. Right. Yeah. If you selling chicken, I come there for chicken and you don't have chicken, we got a problem, right?
Absolutely. That's what we're known for, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's going like, oh, you need to run out and get hamburgers. This is Burger King, right?
Exactly. Right.
So a lot of that has to do, and that's a franchise, but I'm just saying, but even on local levels, consistency in your hours, and again, your product.
That's a great point. The one thing I liked about McDonald's, because I'll tell you now, I'm not a cook, right. But I don't in restaurants.
But you eat food.
But I eat food, right?
I do food, but I don't cook.
But the one thing about McDonald's is they come to the table with proven processes already. And if you follow their methodology, you can be successful. And the reason a hamburger tastes like a hamburger in Wisconsin and Iowa and Washington is because we all use the same process. And in fact, I used to tell people this: if you come into my restaurant or I send you over to another operator and say, hey, go help this operator out in their restaurant, you can walk in and immediately begin working, because we have systems in place. Everything is in the same place. I know where to go to get this product. I know what to do on the table. Everything is labeled the same. And so that consistency produces that consistent product that people are, known to love. So they come there because they know what to expect, and so it's not always just about capitalization, but it's about the delivery, having processes in place that ensure you deliver the same thing time after time after time.
You got us. We're on the roll now. So we talked about capitalization. We talked about consistency.
Yep.
Let's talk about the other. I watched The Bear. I don't know if you watched The Bear. No. The Bear is incredible. You, to the point, it was so influential to me. Me and my wife calling each other chef, right? But they tell you how the kitchen is set up.
Yes.
How you move the food, right? There's a reason why you don't come in the door on the right. Exactly. That's the door people going out. You come in the door on the left. Yeah. People go, well, why does that make a difference? It makes a difference in terms of your service. Which gets us to one of the killers in some Black businesses: customer service. Yes. Capitalization, consistency, customer service.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Because it's one thing to have a great product and to be capitalized, but if you can't deliver it and deliver it in a way in which people want it, that makes a difference, And customer service is what an individual feels customer service is. That changes consistently, but people want to be delighted.
Right, exactly. Absolutely.
Like blow me away. What makes me
what makes your restaurant?
They exceed my expectations. Exactly.
And I think a lot of business owners miss the fact that the customers don't need you need them. We miss that. Somehow folks will get in business and think that somehow I could act this way. I don't have to be as polite as I should be because I'm selling this product to them and they're absolutely going to come get it every time. That is absolutely not true. Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of failed businesses with that mentality, to this day.
And I'll tell you, back in the day, there was an expectation that people came to a job just already with common courtesy. Especially kids, McDonald's was like a place where a lot of kids would get employed, right? So we expected you came into the door already knowing how to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, or whatever. Well, that doesn't happen today. We have to teach that. And in McDonald's, we used to call it the moment of truth. and I explained it this way. There may be 25 people working in that restaurant. Okay. But the moment of truth is when you walk to that counter, that front counter, and I encounter Johnny, I'm evaluating my entire experience on my encounter with Johnny. So I don't know about the other 24 people in the rest of the restaurant, but if Johnny sets a good impression, that's the moment of truth. Then okay, I'm coming back. I've evaluated all of McDonald's based on my experience with Johnny. If Johnny gives me a horrible experience, the first thing I'm gonna say is I'm never going back to that McDonald's because it's a horrible restaurant. So that moment of truth is in that individual. So we have to now teach people how to provide service because they just don't come into the door with that anymore.
So then, are there discussions then around personnel?
Oh, absolutely. That's key.
I mean, in terms of who is the woman? Is it Sweetie Pie? There was a woman in St. Louis. She used to be with
the restaurant.
Yeah, she was with Ike and Honey Pies.
I think it's Sweetie Pie.
Sweetie Pie. Her biggest issue was her personnel, her family. You know, because the thing that you just talked about, and I think it's interesting because we're not talking about. We're using McDonald's because that's your lived experience, right? So we understand that some people come in and don't know that even though I work for McDonald's, it's still impacted my bottom line. Even though I think I don't own this place, I could care less. But it's your job.
It's your job. That's it.
And so how do you have buy-in in terms of your personnel? And I don't know if that's a discussion you have. I mean, sometimes you get what you get. I mean, if it's your family, that's all you can afford. But the whole customer service piece, and look, people say we don't support Black businesses. You're in a different world now. When we had no choice, you had a captive audience. People have exposure to more than your product.
Absolutely.
That's true.
And the point that you were making, like, don't think that they should come just because you Black and you open.
Right.
You know, you out, you and I think here's another C word. You got me on the roll. Competition.
Oh yeah.
Competition. That, you know, why would I come to, like, with beauty shops? Obviously, people go to the beauty shop they go to because of the relationship they have.
Absolutely.
You know, with the beautician. Go to the barber shops because of the relationship we have with barbershops. Now, I tell you someone who seems to really get it right, if you want to look at a business model in our community, funeral homes.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when you look at the whole customer service piece,
You're right.
I just knew you were going to say people are dying to get in. I just knew you were going to go.
And you know what else? Some people have died who never died before. As my friend so faithfully said, he was fatally shot and he died. Well, you know, no complaints. That's funny. I went to a high school. We did a class that was just never done in the country, any high school, called On Death and Dying. And we talked about Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's book, Death, the whole thing about that. So it was a great class. So part of the practical experience was we went to Ferrick's funeral home. And I'll never forget the funeral director, Mr. Tom Mott. Tom Mott looked like Herman Munster. The dude was like 6'6", big dude. So, you know, me being a little punk high school student, I have to, you know, here comes my jokes. I raise my hand. And he goes, yes. I said, you're talking about embalming. Is that painless? You know what he said to me? I never had a complaint.
Right. He was ready for it.
He was ready for me. Little punk high school kid coming in here. But you're right. But when you look at their model, now again, they're in a situation where, you know, people died every day. And I'm not being trite to the point. But then let's look at it again and turn from a business perspective for Black funeral home owners. First of all, you got national chains. They're coming in buying up funeral homes. Okay. And then you have encroachment of white funeral homes in what would be traditional Black businesses. I hate to put it this way, because of the market. Right? There's this decrease in white population, but then you look at Black and brown people. And so there's a particular funeral home here who's made a conscious effort to make inroads into the Black community. So if you're a Black funeral home owner, not only were you just dealing with your fellow Black funeral home owners, now you have a major chain funeral home now competition that's threatening, your product.
Right.
Yeah. So I think when we have those, so I don't know what the workshop looks like in terms of having those conversations, but how about this? The other thing is, what's the average life of a business, like a lifespan? Number of businesses that succeed as opposed to the number of businesses that fail.
Well, there's I
I've
got the
heard
number. There's a
different
number.
statistics on
Yeah,
that,
there's a number
yeah.
about how many even make it a year.
Right.
Yeah.
And then how many make it 5 years.
Exactly.
5 years. That was the
yeah.
number I was looking at. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
that
forget the percentage.
if you do after 5 years, then you're pretty successful.
You
You're
know what you're
figuring out how
doing.
to sustain yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. You know what you're doing. Absolutely.
You guys want to take some calls?
Sure.
Caller, welcome to the program.
Hey, good morning, Keith. Good morning, Debo. Good morning to your guests.
Good morning.
So I haven't been listening very long, but I do believe that there is a McDonald's owner there, franchise owner?
Former.
Okay, the question I have is, compared to yesterday to today, in regards to our young people and customer service, it is absolutely terrible. And I hope there's business owners listening. I mean, I go to McDonald's and I order some food and I can't even get a thank you, have a nice day from these people. And I really don't blame it on the people that servicing me. I blame it on the managers. So if there's any managers out there listening, this is a time that we could teach our young people to know how to conduct themselves with respect and dignity to the public that they serve. Thank you very much.
I think that's a great point too. Before, like I said, back in the day when I was coming up, our parents taught us to say good morning, good evening,
Yes, ma'am.
hey, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Somebody came into a room and you were sitting down, you stood up and you gave your
Ooh,
chair.
man, you could
gave
go
your
to old
chair.
school there.
I'm old school, right?
Yep.
But there's a saying that said people don't leave companies, they leave bad management. Okay. And I feel that hiring great managers is key because they're the ones that are working closely with your team, and they're the ones that will instill certain values and principles into that team. And so, he's right. You got to work with them. But I'm going to go back to some of the parenting, because a lot of this stuff you get just in your home, just basic common courtesy. And, so it really starts in the home to me.
And then do you think that is it operational philosophy in terms of, I'm just looking at my cousin's restaurant over here, and their whole mantra was the food was good, but your experience is going to be even better than the food. Right. How people make you feel about being in that restaurant.
Yep. Absolutely.
And a lot of people think that that's not important, but it really is.
It definitely is.
And you have where I say anytime, and I know you know this, anytime somebody gets out your line and walks out your restaurant, you just lost money.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if the people behind the counter, because they feel, I'm just overwhelmed. Ain't no victims, just volunteer. Hey, sometimes you got to really work hard frying chicken. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, you might have to earn your check today. Sorry. And in the midst, and look, I could care less as a customer about what you're going through in your life. I'm sorry. I know I should be concerned. I'm really concerned about my 2-piece snack right now. Mm-hmm. Right. And so you have to switch it off in terms of, I worked in government, and it almost seemed for some folks, it was an oxymoron to say we do good customer service because they got to come to you. Okay.
Definitely.
They do. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be treated with unconditional positive regard just because they have to come to you. I mean,
absolutely.
And so I think, but it's interesting because so that informality that we seem to be developing as a society, we're less formal. Right. And so people are pushing back against certain kind of structures. But it is important. So who you hire becomes really important in terms of who's going to sell your product.
Absolutely. The hire is key. It's really key.
Yeah.
Finding good people, just, looking for just that person that, to me, really is focused on delivering a certain type of service to people. I can train you on the technical aspect of it. It's hard for me to train you on just some of the common courtesy and common sense stuff. So when I interview, I'm evaluating how are you going to interact with my customer? Because I can teach you how to do fries. I can teach you how to do, ring up on a register. I can teach you how to cook on that grill, but I can't teach you how to just be nice. You got to come to the table with that.
I used to use McDonald's in my customer service, and I said, here's one of the evaluations. We have people on the counter who really should be on fries. They should be nowhere near the counter. They should be back there flipping burgers. They should be cleaning, but they should not be your face of your business because they doing a whole lot of damage.
Exactly. Yeah. And I know we're talking about McDonald's just because that's my experience. But this is in every business.
Every business, right?
Absolutely.
I use McDonald's because the thing that you just pointed out, if you look at corporate structures and how to manage a business, McDonald's is platinum. Yeah. That's platinum plate. That's the only reason why it's not. Yeah. And I know, and it's great because you've had that practical experience with McDonald's. You're listening to To the Point. They have a university just on hamburgers.
And I graduated from there.
Hamburger you. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Conversation this morning with Mr. Willie Smith. He's the executive director there at the Northwest Side Community Development Corporation.
You got it.
Dr. Deborah Allen.
Yes. Good morning.
What's your role there? You do consulting work with them, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. And again, we were talking, and just look, we're not beating up on McDonald's, so just so everybody know. But anybody who does business development knows that you go in and you look at systems. And one thing about McDonald's is that, and this started with Ray Kroc, what's always the most efficient way that we can do this? Yeah. I mean, they put fast in fast food.
Yeah, true.
And consistent product. Now, some okay, but I'm just saying a Big Mac in New York pretty much tastes like a Big Mac in Milwaukee, right? But then they would also do some other things too, where if there were local influences, can I get geeky for a moment? I got the backstory on the fish fillet.
Okay, oh, you do. You know more than I know.
Got the backstory about the fish fillet. So McDonald's always said, hey, you come up with an idea. They stole the Big Mac from Big Boys. Won't get to that, but they did. They did. Big Boys never copyrighted that sandwich, and so all McDonald's did was took the same sandwich and changed the sauce a little bit. Same sandwich. If you ever had a Big Boys burger, it is the same burger. Wow. You go down to Kilowatt, or down in St. Kate's, they still serve the Big Boy. Yes. But Cincinnati is a very Catholic city, and during Lent, one of the franchise, I think it was Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, came up with this idea. Why don't we do a fish sandwich? Because if you're Catholic, and especially then, Catholics couldn't eat meat on Fridays. Right. And during Lent is Wednesdays and Fridays. So he came up with the fish fillet. Wow. They're this franchise in Cincinnati. So, and McDonald's, smart, is sold. Let's roll it out. And they discontinued it for a while, but they had to bring it back. It's pretty popular.
It's a hot seller still.
Yeah. But the interesting thing is, but then McDonald's done things like chicken wings. Let me tell you, McDonald's chicken wings were actually very good.
They were excellent.
They were very good, but they didn't sell because why would I go to McDonald's for chicken wings? That's like going to Kentucky Fried Chicken for a hamburger.
They were pretty pricey too, though.
But you think that was it? You think that was price?
It could have been. It could have been.
I didn't mind. I'll pay for a chicken wing.
And then,
that's my crack.
I think it was seasonal because you know how many chickens you'd have to service all of McDonald's.
Well, they did have problems. They bought all the wings and they had to figure out what to do with them once they decided to discontinue. I think that's the story behind it. But that part. Yeah, it was a good chicken wing.
It was excellent.
So you can add things. People who you were talking about like your idea. And that, just because you can do it don't mean, like, I had this idea that I'd open up a Sloppy Joe stand. Call Sloppy Joe's. You just come by. What you serve here? Sloppy Joe's. Because there's the other thing too. Do not bring products in that you're not going to move.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right. I mean, and you think, and it might be, I think you used the word niche. I think you use the word niche. Yeah. Niche. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so bringing in, and so again, I don't know why we're so focused on restaurants, but when you look at the menus, a lot of times, what are you offering? And if you do a whole lot, what's not selling?
Exactly.
Another interesting thing about Perkins, they used to be right here on the corner of 19th Street. It was a small little dinette. That was Mahalia Jackson Chicken. And so when she went out of business, they ended up buying the building. Wow. But when they were here, I never knew that. People would come in and say, their soul food was incredible. They said, you don't sell fried chicken. And my cousin Willie said, no, we don't, because we're right across the street from Kentucky Fried Chicken. Why would anybody want to come for our fried chicken when we're right across the street from Kentucky Fried Chicken? I said, but people go, no, we want your fried chicken. That's when they added fried chicken. Wow. Right. Because originally when they were there, Kentucky Fried Chicken was there. And if you're thinking from a business perspective, why am I doing what they're very good at? Right. Let me do what I do. All right, we got a caller. I'm babbling. Oh. What'd I say again? Caller, welcome to the program. Our producer keeps saying, caller, welcome to the program. Caller, welcome to the program.
Hello. Hi.
Good morning,
everyone.
Good morning.
I'm calling basically like a comment. I understand you all when you're talking about peacefulness and when you're talking about young people coming into the establishment and trying to gain, they want to actually work, but then again, they don't want to work. I work in several different jobs as a lead, as a supervisor for the brewers, as a lead for the city as well. We have young people coming in with the mind capacity. They want the money, but they don't want to do what it takes to get that job. You want to come in to a food establishment such as the brewers, where we're seeing a lot of big top business people, but then you want to stand in the stand that I'm running, because I run several at a time. If I come in here and I see you're not clean, you're not neatly dressed, you have your hair, your tattoos, or whatever it is, our first initial thing is, when we're trained, and I've been here 24 years now, I'm going to dismiss you and tell you to go home and take care of that. But it goes all the way back initially during the hiring process. And like the young lady was saying, where the hiring process, you got to kind of figure it out. I'm thinking and trying to incorporate with them is, maybe during the hiring process, we give them a few more days extra of their training to see exactly where they at. Because initially, they're going to put their best face forward in the front. But you give it a couple of days, all of a sudden they there, might be friends that they know, all of a sudden now we want to slack, our clothes are hanging out, we're dirty. When you come into my area, you know Ms. B is not going to take that. So everybody else on that level is like, okay, well, you got to be clean, you got to be neat, your hair got to be neat, this or that, so you don't get offended, because I'm going to give you that chance first. I'm not going to fire you or recommend you be fired. I'm going to tell you just go home for that day. But if they have this initial training as we did coming up, you're going to value that job in a great way. And 9 times out of 10, by the end of the season, they'll come back, or 4 or 5 years, and be like, you know, if you didn't teach me that, I probably wouldn't have where I'm at now. These are kids that went on to succeed. But I'm just saying, I think as older people that we should be putting our values into the young people, even though they're showing lack of interest. But later on, what my Bishop Bert always says, if you put it in the atmosphere, you got to get it. It's there. It's going to come back to you more than 4 or 5 times. But if it's in the atmosphere, for them to be neat, tidy, and respectful at the McDonald's, the Burger King, or whoever it is at that window, it starts with management first. And I think as managers, we should invest in these young people, and sometimes it touches the older ones that are there as well.
All right. And I'll give my best to one of my favorite preachers of all time, Bishop R.L. Burke. Please, please, please. That's a preacher right there, boy.
Yes, he is.
All right. Thank you. As she was speaking, though, I get the point that she's making in terms of that, how we're bringing folks up. I used to coach 7th, 8th grade basketball, and we invested in practice uniforms. If you didn't have on your practice uniform, the entire uniform, you couldn't practice. Mm-hmm. What was I getting them into? Understanding you have a responsibility, and this is an expectation. And so, I know sometimes people just, especially when there's a demand for labor, you know, when it's an employee market, sometimes it's going to be who's paying the higher rate or higher wages to get folks. But she brings up a great point. There are people out there who feel like they should just get the money and they shouldn't have to work hard for the money.
But in your example, you know, it started with your coach. So it starts with the leader, you know, and I'll tell you, I remember I had this one young man, I'm gonna give him a little shout out. His name was Jason. Jason ran one of the restaurants, right? And he just had a way of inspiring people, and leadership really is nothing but influence. He had a way of influencing those young people, and all of a sudden, everybody in the restaurant wanted to be a leader. You know, everybody wanted to aspire to be a manager or a swing shift manager or whatever. He would somehow, I think he took them to Goodwill. He'd find a shirt, a tie, some nice pants, and he'd bring them up in the restaurant. And just the fact that they were dressed up, looking nice, feeling nice, they acted like they were running the restaurant. Even though they weren't managers, they all aspired to look that way and feel that way, because that's the leadership that Jason was espousing to this team. You know, so I think it all has to do with who you put over your people. They have to be able to be influential.
Absolutely.
And then, you know, like the buy-in, what is it that we're trying to do? What's our mission?
Right.
Exactly.
And if you look at, because beyond making money,
Yes.
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
should have, I think, some values that
Absolutely.
you're trying to promote in your business.
Exactly. Even with the small businesses we work with, I mean, if we meet with someone and they're only talking about money and not the great product or service that they're offering, there's a good chance they're not a good candidate for a loan. They're thinking too much about money. You need to be thinking about what you're offering. You know, that's where the money is going to come from. This loan is not money that you're going to just spend the way you want to. It is the revenue from your business that you're going to spend.
So money's not the end, it's the means to an end.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say, like going back to something we stated earlier in regards to employees, people tend to just want a person to fill a job. They're not hiring based on the person's skill set and what they actually need. They're just hiring a person that they know. You know, typically these smaller businesses, they're hiring family, they're hiring friends. And if that person doesn't have the skill set, they might not be the person for that, you know, for that position.
Sweetie pies.
Exactly. Right. So
They
you
feel like a
really-
warm body is better than nobody, right?
Exactly.
That's
And
what
that
I
is a
call it, warm
mistake.
body.
That is a
but
mistake.
sometimes that warm body is doing a whole lot of damage.
It's rough.
Exactly. And it's amazing the impact of one person on your team can have in a positive or negative way. So that's why, you know, I think over time, you know, if you've made the right choice, you find out pretty quick. You made the wrong choice, sometimes it could take you a little bit longer to find out because you're thinking, hey, you know, maybe things are just a little bit slow right now. You're not necessarily digging into the reason why.
Yeah.
But if things are going well, you might pay a little bit more closer attention to that.
Because when Willie is working, we booming, but when Deborah's up in here, we got nobody. So
Fire you.
Deborah, we need to have a little conversation.
Yeah, Deborah running off the customers and the good employees.
They ran over everybody up out of here. And now people, and you never want to do things in desperation.
Absolutely.
I think that, I know, man, pestilence.
Right.
You don't want to do things in desperation, but, you know, sometimes, but I got to get back to, you know your limitations.
Right.
And I know we have all these people out here who are teaching you all these aspirational messages like, oh, man, you know, shoot for the sun and reach the moon. Okay, I got that, but let's keep that in context too. All right,
Exactly.
that maybe you just not able to go to the next step right now. You know, just be consistent. Now, look, I've been on the plantation all my life. I am not an entrepreneur, right? And so my whole thing was I wanted that check coming every 2 weeks.
Yep.
I'm looking at the consistency of that, and sometimes it's one of the interesting things. If I get political here for a moment, not partisan political. One of the interesting things about Obama was they were really the first group to go out and do small donors.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, instead of concentrating just on big donors, do small donors, and then consistent donors. We're back to the C word again. So you really. So sometimes if you just have consistent business, that's better than you just trying to hit the home run.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people really want to hit the home run. You all have an event coming up.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
What's that event?
Sure, I'll start. David, you can finish.
Okay.
So we've realized working with small businesses at Northwest Side CDC that, you know, you have a lot of folks who are operating, they've been operating for quite some time, but for one reason or another, they plateau. They stop looking at how the business can grow. They stop looking at, you know, how they could expand the opportunities with their business. So what we put together with Debbie working with us on this, we put together a workshop series called Opportunity Knocks. And basically what we're doing is we're working with existing business owners, and we're helping them not only to think about what the growth opportunities are for their businesses, but we're helping them with business technical assistance to help them to reach the goal. So it's not, I mean, a lot of folks go to small business workshops. A lot of folks, if they've gone to one, they've probably been to three. And, you know, they're getting this information. And oftentimes the information that they're receiving at these workshops, they have a difficult time tying that knowledge to their individual businesses. And if you think about it, you have several different businesses. If you have, say, a restaurant and a child care center and a convenience store, they're all hearing something different because it applies to their businesses in a different way. And oftentimes they have a difficult time sorting that out and figuring it out. So what we're offering is not just the technical assistance and basically the support in helping them to envision what does growth look like for my business, but we're also have someone working directly with them to reach that goal. This is not just conversation in regards to the technical assistance. There's also funding to support that growth as well. So, you know, you have one location, you see where there's opportunity for you to have another location or what have you. You know, we're thinking about that. We're coming up with projections. We're creating a system as to how you reach that goal. And we're also working with this business owner to receive the funding that they need to make that dream or that vision a reality.
And I think what's real great about this opportunity is many times what happens is we go to a workshop and it's on financial planning or marketing or whatever, you know, area we're interested in. And now we have to take that information back and try and apply it into our own business. And many times entrepreneurs are working in the business and not necessarily working on the business. So they're on the floor day to day, or they're doing the nuts and bolts of the business, and they may not always know how to apply it. What we're doing here is we're pairing you up with a coach to kind of be with you shoulder to shoulder for a certain amount of time. So we not only help you envision the growth, but we kind of work with you shoulder to shoulder to implement that and figure out what are your hiccups, what are the things you can do to make this happen in the business and get your business growing. So I think that's the benefit, is that ongoing coaching that you receive. That's the difference right now.
It's Opportunity Knocks.
Correct.
Opportunity Knocks.
September 21st. So where's it going to be held?
Center Street Library from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Do you need to register?
Yes, you can go online and register, and there is a limited number of seats. So it is important that you go online and register.
Can you give us that online address?
Sure. It's
27th and Center.
No.
Oh,
Online.
I don't have
for
that.
registration. 27th.
Oh,
People in the computer.
you mean-
27th Center. Where's the link?
Oh, you know, I know.
They go to your website.
Out
right?
on Northwest Side CDC's website, there is a flyer, and that flyer has a QR code.
Excellent.
So if you pick up on that QR code, it'll take you right to the registration.
And that's
And our website is www.nwscdc.org. northwestsidecdc.org, nwscdc.org.
You're listening to Community Voice. We're up on the last break. Well, it's our last break. Let me thank Mr. Willie Smith, Dr. Deborah Allen, Northwest Side Community Development Corporation. The event they're having on September 21st is Opportunity Knocks. It's the workshops, Center Street Library, between 9 and 1. And you can go to your website to register.
Absolutely. nwscdc.org.
All right. Let me thank you all again.
Thank you.
Great conversation.
Thank you.
Debo, thank you. Carby, thank you. Good Lord willing, Creek don't rise. Hope to talk to everybody tomorrow. And as always, go from this place in peace.